if you're ready, and you're ready, and I'm ready, I need to push this button right here.
Brought to you by some guys on the internet.
This is Getting Tabled.
With your hosts, Jason the Bruce,
You guy!
George the Yang,
I hope you are all entertained by my inaptitude.
Jason aka Major Socks.
We've been doing this and talking about various stuff. One of the stuff.
Now sit back, relax, and get tabled.
Hello, future people, and welcome to episode 90 of Getting Tabled with your host, Jason Breaking the Law Bruce.
Oh, yeah. I'm like, what the hell? Yeah, thanks for that. It's very easy to break the law when you have no idea that people have done Victorian government, I really, really don't like you right now. Anyway, we also have the main man. The story of his demise was greatly exaggerated. He was not blown away.
Nope.
He's not even slightly damp. It's Airman Socks.
Airman?
Yeah.
What happened? Way demoted.
Wow.
That's all you deserve for trying to run away. They told you that you don't matter, so clearly you're just an airman.
Yeah, apparently so. So yeah, for folks who don't know, I was involved with the evacuation. I had to evacuate. I was in one of the mandatory evacuation zones for Ian, and yeah, woo! But we never got hit, luckily. Unfortunately, if we have listeners down in the Sarasota, Fort Myers area, I feel sorry for you because seeing pictures of that area, I wish you all the best if we have listeners down in that area because it has been devastated. If that hit our area, I don't know if my house would be standing right now because of how much flooding they got down there. And that's what they were expecting up here if it didn't hit south of here.
Yeah.
But then we have George, and I'm sorry about your Cowboys, George, beat by my BYU Cougars. I'm sorry. But,
no, you're not.
Oh, well.
No, you're not.
No,
Dude, I'm actually pretty stoked of that outcome because that was pretty close considering BYU's 19 ranked and we're not. So
I know that I was getting worried at the first part of that game, to be truthful.
So,
but
what I am highly disappointed in you though is there's no photo of you in an American Speedo with an American flag and road flare strapped to your body while the typhoon is tearing through.
Sorry, no.
I don't think the internet needs to see that either.
All right, should we get to the this stuff?
I have a question. I have a question before we do. Was it nice meeting Dorothy and Toto?
Yes, it was. It was very nice meeting Dorothy and Toto.
Good.
Although they were a lot bigger.
They're a lot bigger?
Yeah.
Newly received or noteworthy information, especially about recent or important events.
So this first story is an interesting one. It's like everybody's doing the same thing now. It's like, I don't know, contrast happens, speed paint happens. Scale 75 did their watery thing, which I reviewed and was not very happy with, but apparently it wasn't supposed to be a contrast thing. And people have been wondering where Vallejo are, and well, here we are. We've got Express Color. The 90s have called, and they want their X's back. That's probably the only real criticism I've got, is did they really have to spell it that way? It hasn't been cool for like 20 years now.
Says you.
Yes, says me. Because I'm the definition of everything that is cool, if you ask me.
I bet you $50 Socks could go out somewhere in Florida right now, find some dude with a mullet, and ask him what he thinks of something being spelled with an X for Express. And he's going to be like, hell yeah, brother, that's cool.
Express spelt like that to me sounds like a photocopy black company. It's just a thought.
So, yeah, I'm really interested to see these just because Vallejo is one of those companies where it's like, they are a standard.
Yeah, they are. Their standard has been a little bit up and down of late, but their standard, like that, they are the number 2 company and have been for what 10, 15 years. The thing I like that they talk about their point of difference throughout this a couple of times. First and foremost, there has been some significant people involved in this. Unger Haraldez probably being the name that most people will recognise. Don Cervantes is involved in this as well. There's actually previews available of some of the range on both of their YouTube channels. Both people well worth following, in my opinion. Unger Haraldez is Spanish. Don Cervantes is Filipino. Like I said, very, very good. Here's the thing I like. The bottles are actually properly transparent. None of this like half transparent stuff that makes the colour look weird. So you actually get to see the colour of the actual paint itself. So I'm kind of excited for this. I mean, I already have the Army Painter one. I mean, it's none of the Contrast competitors are perfect. Not even Contrast itself.
Mhm.
But the fact that everybody is going in this direction. There was a question at the episode that I was on with Beasts of War last weekend. There was a point where Warren was asking, do we think that this is going to be like, this is just the standard now? And it says, no, it's just another alternative. Everybody has their version of it coming out because it's popular, but it doesn't mean that traditional painting is going away. I don't think anybody ever
absolutely
really
not.
thinks that either. The thing I like is they also have a very significant range here. It's roughly... It's double the size of the Army Painter one. And it actually has metallics in it.
Yeah, that's what I was...
That's new.
That's what I was trying to get in there was, they've a metallic contrast.
Yeah.
That is interesting sounding. Like how is that going to look? You know, like is that going to be like, because you know the problem with GW contrast is, you know, you have to have a very organic surface, nothing, you know, large flat panels. So like Space Marines doesn't work so well. Yeah. How would a metallic work on the smoother, larger flat area? You know, is that going to give you a better appearance? Yeah. So, I'm super interested to see that.
I could see it on more like your weapons and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Where it's going to be broken up for the metallics. But going back to your comment about the old stuff going away in terms of the other style of paints, I don't think so, because if you think about the modelers, the true modelers that do the model aircraft, the model tanks, that kind of stuff, model ships, the large scale stuff, they're going to want that standard color set most of the time because there's specific sets of paint that go along with that style, World War II ships and whatnot. Yeah. So I don't think we'll see that style of paints going away.
There's also not an insignificant group of people that very much will turn around and... But there is those that turn their nose up at the contrast just as a thing at all. I mean, I would argue that those people are wrong because you can't look down at other people's hobby. If you don't like it, then don't do it on your own stuff. Don't judge other people for the skills that they are probably only just learning.
I was going to say, you know, contrast is one of those things where I like it for the fact that it's giving beginners into the hobby a leg up.
Yeah.
It's allowing them to do something in 2 weeks that would take, you know, months to years to develop at the most basic skill level, and then encourage them to move on to the more advanced techniques that still look better than contrast regardless what you do.
Yep.
So, and like I said, you know, Vallejo being, you know, if you look, you know, they were the last one in on the color shifting paint, you know.
Yeah.
I don't think I think it's a choice of them not, you know, rushing a product to just get it on the market. I think Vallejo is one of those companies where they will put a product out when their product is ready to go out.
Yeah. I mean, Army Painters hasn't been out for that long either. Army Painters has a thing of reactivating at times, although I have not had any problem with it at all. Army Painter actually recently responded to the criticism of that because apparently the way that it works to prevent the pooling and the layer lines and stuff is actually what causes that. but they are actually looking at it apparently. So Army Paint are actually responding to the fact that there's been some criticism of their paint lines recently. So that's good to see. A slight divergence, but I'm very keen to see what this ends up looking like. I can't really afford to buy yet another paint range, but I would be very, very curious to see what this ends up looking like. I have been impressed with what I've seen so far on the channels that I spoke of earlier.
Moving on.
Before we... Socks, have you actually played with any of these styles of paints? I don't think you have you?
Contrast, Citadels.
You have... Okay, you played with the originals then. Cool. I wasn't sure. Very interested to see what the metallics look like, because I'm actually curious to see...
right there.
Oh, there you go. I'm curious to see how the metal will actually work. I mean, they wouldn't be releasing it if it doesn't, but...
Yeah, that's... Yeah, I'm very curious. I'm very curious and interested to see how that works. Is Ben's getting some, right? Or is he just like as hyped as we are?
He's just as hyped as we are, as far as I know.
Okay. Okay.
I don't know if he's looked at actually purchasing or not. You can't buy it yet. It's about to go into pre-order, but
yeah,
I'll probably pick up a bottle of the dark gunmetal in the metallic just to see how it does, because I usually use gunmetal on my Legion weapons and stuff like that sometimes as a highlight. So I might use that and try it out just as a base coat.
I'm just gonna go out there and say this: if you're not using gunmetal on guns, you're wrong.
No, they could be painted guns. That could be. Okay, moving on.
Anyways, we got some cool stuff coming out for Drop Fleet.
Yeah,
Oh wait, did I spoil that? Oops.
No, it was already on screen when you said it.
I know it was.
All right, so first things first, we have a brand new Drop Fleet Commander rulebook. This is...
And starters.
Yes, I was getting to that. The rulebook I actually have mixed feelings on, because the fact that we're getting a 1.5 rulebook means very clearly that we're nowhere near to a second edition, and I do believe the game genuinely needs it at this point. I think the game really does need a very big kick up the rear end with a proper real edition, where this is kind of more just it's kind of like a little update like what Mantic have done with Kings of War, but I think Drop Fleet really does need a full-on proper second edition at this stage. The two-player starter set I am much more excited about, though. So, well, it's not that I'm not excited about the rulebook. I will be getting the rulebook. I mean, we did need a new rulebook. I just have mixed opinions, that's all. Because I was kind of hoping that we had a second edition getting close, and this means that we very clearly won't be having one for at least 12 months, if not longer. Because they wouldn't be making this book if the new one was on its way.
No.
Which I can't not be disappointed about that. The new starter set, the reason behind this starter set is because they wanted something that was smaller to get an easier buy-in for players. The new starter set has a mixture of ships, some of which you did see on the previous page. Some of the plastics are still here. So in the case of the UCM, you get 2 single-piece resin cruisers. These are alternate versions of existing ships. And you get 1 plastic cruiser and 4 plastic frigates. So that's the existing plastic kits. In the Scourge, you get 2 single-piece resin cruisers, 1 plastic cruiser, and 4 plastic frigates. You get the rulebook. You get the same 3x4 playing surface, so on and so forth. The big thing about this, I actually approached TT Combat. I actually spoke with the owner. I spoke with Louis, because my question I was asking was, is this going to be the start of the plastics going away? Because with the market being the way that it is right now, in my head I was kind of thinking, is there a chance that maybe they're bringing everything in-house, reducing costs, which wouldn't be a terrible idea, but it would be a kind of a step backwards. I can confirm that is not the case. The plastics are definitely staying. So the plastics are not being replaced by the hard resin. It's just another option that we have, which is good. I would have been quite upset if it was actually going away. So, yeah, good news. I'm very happy about that. I really like the new ships too. I think the new ships are very pretty.
I think the UCM one, I think it's a great look. I think it's very unique.
I think the UCM is actually the better of them. I think that's the best, and I can't say that for anybody else.
I don't think so. The Resistance ones, it's that pre-conquest, like ship look, so it looks great. The PHR, I don't like that extra hull on the top.
Yeah.
The whole PHR of like the long, sleek, smooth,
single.
And now you've got this extra hump on it. Like
the only thing I'm going to say is that we are on record a couple of times as saying that we felt that they kind of needed to do something different with the PHR because everything kind of looked the same. So, yeah, I can see what you're saying though. I don't. It's certainly not my favourite. I think the Sheltari have been done really nicely. I think that's probably the better looking Sheltari ships I've seen for a while.
I was getting there. The Scourge, I think, is pretty good too, because as much as I like the whole, like, all the fins coming off like this on the Scourge and like the long fuselage in the middle, this jet fighter look, I think, is a great look for it. Like, it makes the wings feel more useful.
Yep, I agree with you.
Like, more part of the design instead of just slapped on the side. The Sheltari, I think, is pretty kicking. And here's why. If you look at all the ships, they have, like, their little sponsons hanging off, and everything's coming off of this one centralized hull.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense for the Sheltari. Looks good. This, I think, is better because it's all one piece. Everything's, like, interconnected. You don't have, like, large things hanging off to get shot at. You're one smaller profile. That mothership, that looks so much better with the, and I think, going forward, like, even doing the heavy cruisers like that, where it's just like you just have a giant thing of guns coming off the front. Oh, so good looking.
The Sheltari ships, I'm not saying that the Sheltari ships aren't nice. They are, but they do have a very fragile look about them. I mean, they're not fragile that I've ever been made aware of. They just look very fragile in the way that they're designed. These look much more solid and much more of a threat.
Mm-hmm.
I still think the UCM are the best looking ones here, I feel. They kind of feel like they skimmers, like the Eldar skimmers, sort of.
Yeah, I mean, I think between the factions, right? I'd say the UCM and the Sheltari had the most drastic like change.
Oh, big time, yeah.
And
I will say this:
UCM,
I'm kind of like I'm waiting for somebody to doctor a picture of the Green Goblin standing on top of one of them.
So
it looks like the thing that he's got in the Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
And my argument for the UCM of, it still looks good, but what's the point with the thing sticking off the front? It's the same argument with the Sheltari. Like, why do they have everything just kind of like hanging off the ship like that instead of like attached?
Yeah.
So it still looks good. I think the Sheltari got the best glow up of the factions, followed by the UCM. The Resistance, I mean, let's be honest, they're the newest of the armies, so
yeah,
they already are diverse enough between like stuff like this and like the modular ships and stuff.
Agreed.
The Scourge is still good. Like I said, I don't think the PHR, and I'm not going to disagree with what you said, Bruce. We always said that they needed something different. This still wasn't it, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I can say I was just calling that out because I kind of felt like somebody would say it otherwise.
It looks very short and stubby. Even though these are battle cruisers or heavy cruisers, they just look short, unlike the long, elongated holes that we're used to seeing. They look like they've been squished together a little bit.
It's not the size of the ship; it's how you fire it.
I know that.
difficultly because it's got broadsides.
Yeah.
Even like make it like more widen it. Like.
Yeah, I can see what they're trying to do, but I don't think this is the look that they want. I can see what they're trying to do, but I do agree. I don't think this is the look that they want. But options are good. Options are good. We also have a new set coming out for Carnivale on this page as well. The Guardians of Malta. And I really like this. This is another set for the Vatican that has a literal angel in it. Like, it's a literal angel. And some guy that's so angry at the ground that he's stabbing it. Yes, I realise that he's praying, but he's got angry and he stabbed the cobblestone. That cobblestone was evil. It needed to be killed.
He's consecrating it, and all the evil is being purged from the land. It's a thing.
I know, but I'm having fun taking the Mickey out of it.
Can we go talk about the other Carnivale stuff? The
one with the tentacles?
The secreting minx one or whatever, that's like
yes,
all sorts of gross and creepy and awesome looking.
There's also another one that I want to talk about. But yes, the secreting Mixon.
Look at the mouth on that thing.
This is all kinds of creepy. The mouth continues down its neck too. Like, this is straight out of Cthulhu. Like, this is really twisted.
That's one of those things where it's like, you ever look at those photos where like they Photoshop lamprey mouths onto like fingertips, and it's just like, that's that.
Yeah.
That is. Ugh.
Well, it almost looks like his eye he's got a singular eye at the very top of his mouth, too. It's it almost looks like an eye, but I don't think it is.
No, I think
see the eyelid.
I think that's the throat that opens.
Possibly.
You talking about the thing with the little slit down the middle? No, I don't think it does either.
Yeah.
I think it's more of a giant leech by the look of it. I really, really, really like this. We also have grab people. Like, quite literally, it's a giant crab, people. If it was red, then it would be straight out of South Park. But it looks very similar. I really, really like this guy. The Rashar are really being spoiled at the moment with all of these new fish creatures. And we have Matriarch's Brood, which, by the sound of it, I'm guessing is a queen that gives birth to all of these other horrible-looking things. And I say horrible in the most complimentary way possible. Like, these things are horrible, but they're supposed to be. Whoever it is that painted the eggs to look see-through like that, I hate you forever, because there's no way I'll ever be able to do that. Like, seriously, you're horrible, and you should be ashamed of yourself, because how dare you have talent.
Can we also talk about something real quick?
Yeah.
Look how great the bases look.
Oh, yeah. No, the bases are awesome.
I mean,
these bases that they're using in the pictures are add-ons that you can buy. They are resin sculpted bases that you can purchase separately. I have some of them, actually. Somewhere.
16 for £9, which,
yeah,
not bad.
That's pretty reasonable.
Yep. I quite like the new Sunken Plaza ones, where it's kind of like a mixture of the plaza and
yeah. No,
I have the solid ones. I have the solid ones like what's in the picture, which is more of your traditional cobblestone, as opposed to the plaza is kind of, it's got the curves and stuff in it. This new stuff looks absolutely amazing, Louis. This is all very pretty. Yeah, can't really argue much about that.
If you need a reason to buy some, if you're US based, remember the pound and dollar are as close as they've been as ever. So
yeah. That is a very good point. George.
It's right now, as I look right now, $1.11 to a pound.
Yep. So it's actually
that's
gone up a little bit.
4 cents.
4 cents
The last time,
on the dollar.
yeah, the last
It was $1.03 last week when I told you that you should be buying things.
$1.07.
Was it? Oh, okay. I stand corrected.
Yeah, it was $1.07.
But still, usually when it's like 2 to 1 almost, this is phenomenal. Even for you, Bruce, it's $1.74 to a pound.
That's not great for. Oh no, hang on, I'm the other way around. That's about normal.
Oh, is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, no, I think that's more than it normally is. Oh, I don't know. Moving on.
Anyways,
We have scenery to look
more
at as
MDF.
well. Yep. So I quite like the dockyard cranes. Most of what we're looking at today is also going to be for Carnivale, because that's kind of the new stuff. I quite like the modular wall sections here. They're quite nice. Could quite easily fit into pretty much anything fantasy, really. I actually prefer the Fodako walls, personally, just because they feel a little bit more chunkier. I don't know, like, that just, the Eastern European style wall, just as opposed to the fancy French castle looking things. I really like that. They feel straight out of something from Assassin's Creed, like the early games.
I was going to say it feels very Dark Ages, before the flying buttresses and architectural advancements where everything had to be blocky and chunky to support,
Yeah.
Everything above it. Yeah.
Yeah. There is a few other things that we've looked at previously. I don't think we actually looked at the Bowery stacks. They are a very simple kit, but a very simple kit in a very good way, because you can kind of build them any way you like. Otherwise, everything else I'm pretty sure we've looked at.
The Bowery stacks almost remind me of the, if you've seen the movie Ready Player One, the little stacks with all that the kid lives in. If you've seen the movie.
That makes sense. Yep.
All the stacked trailer homes.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's a terrible movie.
So I've never seen it actually. I've seen sections of it.
If you've read the book, if you've read the book, don't bother with the movie.
I haven't read the book, and I probably never will.
Then
Moving
watch
on.
the movie, then read the book.
We have a really, really, really pretty set coming up for Marvel Crisis Protocol, and I want so many parts of this, it's not funny. So this is another one of the diorama sets that they've been doing. This one I think is a little bit better than the Spider-Man Dr. Octopus one, because it's actually a usable piece of terrain, and the bases that they come on literally work in the terrain. Like, if you go back, you can actually see there's a hole cut out for where it's supposed to be, and it looks like it's supposed to be there, much like they did with the Thanos with his throne. But it also just looks like a really cool piece of terrain as well. So this is very clearly supposed to be the opening to one of the Weapon X areas. And we've got a new version of Hulk and a new version of... Sorry, not Hulk. A new version of Wolverine and a new version of Sabretooth. So if you want to paint up something to look like the movies, this is probably the closest that we've gotten so far. Plus, we're going to buy...
Actually, I would argue these versions of Wolverine and Sabretooth are more true to the comic books.
I would agree. I'm just saying that you could paint these up to look like the movies if you wanted to.
Well,
But you wouldn't have to jump much.
Yeah. I also think that Wolverine is one of the few castings where it's just like they couldn't have found anyone better to portray that part, like the look.
Yep. Yes, I know that he's too tall, but he was still the best choice. And I'm really excited for Deadpool 3. I'm so excited for Deadpool 3. If you haven't seen the trailer, go and watch that after you're finished here, because it's worth it. It's a giant troll, but it's worth it. I really like this. They're not doing a lot of these, which I think is probably clever. But I like the fact that we are actually getting some sets like this where it's not just new characters. They're actually doing something a little bit different. The rival panels are fun. Yeah,
I think those are... I like the idea because, it's not... it's not just a mini for the game. It's like, you know, if you're more the hobbyist where you enjoy painting more than playing, this is something where it's like, ooh, I get a little diorama that I don't have to like build everything from scratch.
I will say this, and this is a very negative opinion. That price is ridiculous. I only just noticed that. That's $100 before tax. That's insultingly expensive.
Yeah,
that's going to make it like $170 or $180 for me. By the time you take the Australia tax into account.
Well, I was just going to say, if you just do a straight conversion, that's hang on, that's where's it at? It's 156 straight across conversion before you add in taxes, VAT, any of that.
I don't know. That just seems very expensive. I'm wondering what the Spider-Man one cost.
$60. I just looked at it.
I mean, it is a much bigger piece of terrain, I suppose, so maybe that does make a bit of sense. But still, that's a lot of money. Oh, well. Moving on. Games Workshop continue to do Games Workshop things. We're going to discuss a little bit more about that later. But we have some more previews. We have another Assassin, which is, again, very reminiscent of the original Clade Assassin, or the Adamus Clade Assassin. I honestly don't like this. I just don't. I'm sorry. I don't like this at all.
I know how you would like it, Bruce.
How
Paint
would I
it
like
white. Paint it white and call it Storm Shadow.
I don't like the sculpt at all, honestly. I think it looks horrible.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Paint it white and it'll look like Storm Shadow.
Yeah. I had thought that it kind of looks a little bit more G.I. Joe-ish. I think it's the gun, personally. I think that's what throws it off for me. The gun looks too big and too ugly. Well, it should be Imperial. It's just horrible. This feels really lazy.
Yeah, he's an assassin for the Imperium. What does the Imperium have for guns? That.
I know.
So it's. I'm sorry if he's gonna have a sword on the back and the nice looking dagger attached to his leg and whatnot. Why does he need a gun? Right? Like, isn't his point of like being the assassin to? Why does he have the sword? Use the sword. Why does he look like a ninja? You sneak and use the sword. That's my argument.
Yeah. Not everything can be hit out of the park. I just personally don't like this. It actually has been praised online pretty heavily by the fan base. So I'm in the minority here. Well, we're in the minority here because you agree with me. I think this is ugly. The head is the best looking part of it. Everything else is just really lazy.
Cut off the right arm and it's a good looking mini.
Socks? I know you're not a huge Games Workshop person anyway, but...
No, it still doesn't do anything for me.
Like, what about in comparison? You've seen better stuff?
Yeah, some of the stuff that we've seen in the past.
Well, and to be fair, his argument, he has Star Wars as his main thing. Star Wars assassins are like
but
on
he does,
another level.
Because we talk about it regularly, he does see their other stuff, so it was more how he feels about it in comparison to that stuff. And obviously he agrees that it's not as good as their
garbage
regular quality. What? Yeah, cool. Leagues of Votann. We are going to be talking about this a little bit more. Well, not specifically this, more the subject in and of itself. Games Workshop actually released a video this week. We're not going to talk about the overall chat. We're going to have a little bit more to talk about that later. But it's pretty fair to say that the release of this, from a rules perspective, has not gone to plan. It's kind of gotten some very negative reactions. It was pretty much immediately banned from the tournament scene in Germany. There may be other countries that have followed, but I know that Germany banned it outright. You are not allowed to use the Leagues of Votann in Germany tournaments right now. This is... To some extent,
there's more to come on this topic.
Yes. To some extent, I think it's fair to say that this has been coming for a while, and that we have been warning that this was going to happen. But yes, we are going to discuss more about this later. Our main topic in Game Talk is going to be balance versus power creep. And we're going to try and actually have a fairly reasonable conversation about it. I think you might be surprised about some of the stuff we have to say. So we're going to quickly move on. We have a new version of Warhammer Underworlds. I kind of feel like the previous version only just came out. I'm kind of confused. In saying that, the minis in this are absolutely gorgeous, and I kind of want them. But I could have sworn that we only just got the previous one. We've got these kind of... I think the bug guy's kind of cool. But like they're kind of like a barbarian. They're kind of wearing their prey around their head. And then we have, I think, what might be my new favourite Games Workshop undead models. I mean, they kind of are, like, they're just an alternate version of the ones that we've had, really. But the leader in particular in this is really, really fun. I really like that.
I would argue this is probably some of the best undead skeletons in miniature gaming, as far as looks-wise.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you. My favourite undead skeletons at this point still belong to Bushido. I still think those really creepy ones with all the mist around them are still my favourite. But these feel like they're straight out of the Black Cauldron. And I love that movie. I really like it.
Yeah, I was going to say, the Beastmen looking one, they look like they would fit right in with a... what is it? It's the ones that have like the frost tusk things for giant mounts.
The ogres?
Is it the ogres? Yeah, maybe it is the ogres.
If you're talking about the ones that have like the giant frost creature things, yeah.
Oh yeah. The Ogre mod tribes. Those guys look like they'd fit right in with those.
Despite the fact that they're human. But yeah, so I can see what you're saying. It's like they're kind of trying to steal the ogre aesthetic there. Which makes sense, I suppose, in the realm of chaos. You got to have a little bit of everything. I don't know. I kind of feel like Underworld is kind of... I think they're doing too much. I think they need to slow down with it. Because I kind of feel like we're getting new versions of this way too quickly now. I swear that we only just got the previous one.
Yeah,
that might be because we didn't get it here in Australia until much later too, though.
Well, and I would almost argue too with some of the Games Workshop stuff. You know, they find something that's like, oh, people are buying this. Let's make more of it, and they'll buy more of it, and then they saturate the market with their own product. And you know.
I'm bored of Underworlds at this stage. I know that the audience is still out there buying it, but I've reached a point where I'm bored at this point. I'm just tired of seeing, like, there's some really cool stuff here, but we're seeing that much of it that they're all starting to feel like they look the same. That's the problem I have. But moving on, I suspect that I'm not going to be popular with that opinion. We have a new Curse crate coming for Blacksite Studios. So the Curse crates...
I was just going to say, what universe would you ever think you would be popular?
That's fair. Don't Look Back is a game that we love. This is awesome. The Cursed Crates are a regular expansion that they do. It's like 2 or 3 expansions in the one box. This particular one comes with a Pack Hunter expansion, which is kind of really creepy guys that are going around the city trying to kill you. It comes with...
There's 2.
Yes.
There's 2 Pack Hunters.
Yes, I haven't finished talking yet.
Oh, okay. Well, you just said 1, and I was just like, no, there's 2. I know. Can count.
I'm still talking. There's the Dark Pact. This is a card set as well. There's the Pack Hunt expansion rules. Then there is what George is talking about. There is the Killer Pack. These are more of a cult-like looking status. And then there is the Dark Hunter, which is a free mini that you get as part of this. So this is kind of like it's several things all coming out at the same time in one box. It's slightly cheaper because you're buying it in the pre-order. $65 for everything that's coming in it. They also have a really cool false idol thing, which is a limited edition Seth wall art with his head being cut off. I kind of like that. And the Gourd Reaper is back. We've got the third version of that box set now. This one is kind of a little bit more ghosty. Mm-hmm. I think I prefer the look of the second one, personally. That's just my personal taste. The Northwood Zombies are fun. It's zombified versions of some of the characters from the game previously. That I do love. And we definitely don't have the house from Halloween. That's definitely not what we're looking at here. It's definitely not that, and it doesn't come with a Michael Myers mini. I don't even know why you're suggesting that it does. Their scenery just continues to be amazing.
Well, let's be honest. I think a lot of their scenery for the next little bit is going to be like, yeah, but it's not that mall.
Oh, I know. The mall is the best looking kit that the industry has seen.
So, yeah, I mean, their stuff still looks good, but now it's just like, oh yeah, cool. You did a 2-story house.
You did another house.
let me go get excited about a house.
Where's the subway station?
Right? Yeah. Where's the what do you always find next to a mall, like the strip mall, or
you can make a strip mall. Also, I'm pretty sure there is. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure they make a subway station somewhere. Sure they do. But for me to find it, it would take too long. So we're not going to find it.
Actually, they do.
I thought that. Where is it?
The ArcLight Metro. I found under terrain, modern ArcLight Metro. And oh boy, does that look cool.
Yep. It's another very pricey
a subway station.
Like, this is just perfect for, well, the first thing that comes to my head is the Marvel game.
Did you not look at the picture where it's got the Hulk?
No. Am I still looking through?
Yeah.
There we go.
It literally has...
Literally.
The main reason I thought of Marvel initially is when the game was first previewed, it was previewed on terrain that looked very similar to this. I'm starting to wonder if maybe it was this set. Maybe? I don't know.
Licensing?
I don't know. Like somebody else made the terrain for them. I don't remember who it was. But this looks very, very familiar. So it might have actually been their terrain that was being used. I really like.
Anyways, this one looks cool too.
I don't like the $635 price. Not that I'm saying it's not worth it. It's a huge set. It's very clearly worth it. But oh my goodness.
Well, when you take into account the stuff's pre-painted.
Yes. Yeah. I'm not arguing on the price.
All
right. Coming up next, the Night Models website is screwing me over. What the... Oh, it looks like I'm going to skip a few things. No, this happened with the links initially too, and I fixed them all. And they seem to update their link URLs. So, Alfred Pennyworth, that link works. So let's look at Alfred. It has been suggested that this might be a recreation of the artwork from just after Batman's back got broken. I don't know if that's true or not, but he's standing in front of the clock where the secret entrance is, holding up his cape and his cloak, rather, ready for him to don it. That's really annoying. It really annoys me that it's done that to me. I had like a whole lot of things that I was going to show off for the Batman game. Yep. Oh, well, we're not going to look at much more Batman because they screwed me over. They also have some Red Lantern stuff that's coming. There was also a face-off with the Joker, where the Joker is beating up. It's the scene from Death in the Family, where he's killing Robin. It was all very, very pretty. And now they've...
Can I just talk about the fact that this company apparently does a Harry Potter miniatures game?
Yeah, they've been making that for quite a while, actually. I don't know how good the game is, because I've never really looked into it. But I know it's got a following. A Night model, actually, like, they do have some pretty... This is who used to have the Marvel franchise, but Marvel weren't very happy with what they were doing with it and took it away. So they used to do both once upon a time. And now all they do is disappoint me by sharing links. Oh, I found it.
What's it called?
Oh. No, they've actually taken it down. Okay. So that on the very front page, the banner that rotates, the very first image that comes up is the mini that I'm talking about. But it seems like they're having issues with their website. The actual website itself is playing up. So you'll also see Street Jesters, that diorama that I was referring to, the Alfred that we've already shown, and it looks like it's just those three. Oh no, we do have the gas puppets. We've got some citizens that's been taken over by the Joker. And Calculator, which is a very weird character. I'm sorry, it just is. And then it just starts resetting. So, yeah. Some really, really nice looking stuff there.
I will say, having you explained that, looking at that, the Supergirl Guy Gardner Red Lanterns, those look really good.
Oh, you actually found them. I couldn't find them.
Yeah, I had to go to the left. So if you're on the Death in the Family and then you go left in the banner picture.
Yeah. I didn't come across them at all.
Oh, and then there's Atrocities, Lord of Rage.
Atrocities came up for me a minute ago.
So he's to the Supergirl one's to the right of Atrocities.
It wouldn't come up for me at all, which is annoying. But that's okay. I've seen Atrocities. Ooh, there we go. I got it. Guy Gardner, I will just say this right now, is a character that I really don't like, but I know that that's kind of the point of Guy Gardner. You're not supposed to like him because he's a moron and he thinks a lot of himself. I kind of like a villain version of him. Apparently this is in the comics right now and they're kind of trying to hide the fact that they have these rings from Superman. Like both of them. I don't really know much more than that, but apparently it's actually a story in the comics at the moment. Of the two of them, I think Guy Gardner is the winner of those two sculpts, personally. It's just a really, really badass looking mini. They're both good minis, though. All right. Moving on. Like if you're interested in the DC universe, like Night models are definitely... I've been considering looking at it again, but I keep on talking myself out of it. And I'm going to continue doing that because I don't need more stuff. Warcradle Studios are releasing a new 2-player starter set for Dystopian Wars. Now, I say new. This is not replacing the old one. It's coming alongside it. So this particular one has 2 different forces than the old one. It's just giving you a new fleet to buy in with. One of those is the Imperium, and the other one is the Crown. As opposed to the original one that has 2 different forces in it. I really, really love the Imperium stuff. Like, those Zeppelins are just all kinds of cool.
I was going to say, like, it's nice to see Zeppelins in the game, because that was the one thing that like caught my attention initially with Dystopian War was, you know, you have your ships, you have your planes, you have your land stuff, you have your zeppelins, like the game was all encompassing as far as units available.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything about those giant zeppelins just screams amazing to me. And I like the fact that there's like these really huge, stupidly huge looking ones, and then there's the little mini ones as well.
Little smaller ones too, yeah.
Oh, and then there's the shield helicarriers.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say too with the other one. The top 3.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
Of the
That's
other
actually
force.
yeah.
The war rotors.
Nice. I mean, they're not actually helicarriers, but they are.
It's
like
the same
them.
mechanical concept. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And then they have smaller ones too. Some of their aircraft, they're smaller ones.
The Tintangle class battle rotor. So cute.
Yeah.
It's cute.
There we go. Oh, nice. It's like it's a boat and a plane had a little baby.
Yeah, pretty
It's
much.
cute. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that they Warcradle continue to do some really nice things. I believe this should all be hard plastic too, because they do a lot of hard plastics. This is a really good looking set, honestly. I think this is well worth your time if you want to buy in. And the fact that it's not replacing the old set, it's alongside it, I think is really important. Because the problem with 2-player starter sets is unless you want the stuff that's in it, it's not really worth it. They're only worth it if you want the stuff that's in it. And if you are not someone that wants to play either the Crown or the Imperium, you can still buy the old one that comes with the other two. And I'm trying to remember what the other two are.
Scroll down. Did you guys see the Ica Colossus squadrons? They're below the starter set stuff. Boy, do they look cool.
The other two was the Enlightened and the Commonwealth.
Whoa.
Big giant
the
Krakens.
squid. Oh,
squid, yeah.
Oh, they're giant versions of the things I loved in my set. Oh, I think I need them.
They look cool.
I think I need them.
And the little chit automatas.
Yeah, I have those. The one that I unboxed had those in it. They're little, like they're actually one piece. They're like an inch long. I need the big version. I don't even care that I don't have a reason to play with them. They're just incredible.
It's very Captain Nemo-esque.
Yes.
Yes.
Which is very fitting for the world, actually. In saying that, further down, the Black Lake Bayou. That is a really nice looking house. I mean, I know it's not a giant mall, but that is a really cool looking house. And that is huge. That's a huge mansion.
And I think we've seen the paddle steamer before.
Yes, we have.
Yeah, we've seen the paddle steamer, yeah.
I really like the paddle steamer.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Shall we discuss some hobby?
Yes.
Trim, glue, prime, paint.
Bruce, you're not talking about aiming for the Indy. No, I know. I deliberately skipped it because I decided that we are going to be needing the time for our other subject later. George has built something for us.
I got the handle replacement in.
Nice.
It now handles. So, for its price, roughly $100, it's not a bad little case actually. It's got the little quirks of, you know, it's a small one-man shop trying to crank something nice out. That being said, he's doing a pretty decent job. If I had a chance to talk to him, I would give him some pointers on how to do the trays. But other than that, the box itself is pretty phenomenal.
What would you like to change
and
about the trays if it was you?
So let me grab the busted one. So what he's done is he's got a piece of sheet metal, right?
Yeah.
And then he cuts these pieces of MDF with the slot and the tongue and groove to make the border.
Yeah.
And then he does this all. He doesn't send you the stuff to put together. He sends it like this. So either one, send the parts and pieces and leave it up to me to do it right. Or two, use thinner MDF, do a large flat sheet for the metal to be glued to, and then a border to glue around on the top. That's multi-piece.
Yeah.
Because this is the big part. Because if this is off by let's see if I can do it. That much, it won't go in the case.
Yeah.
So that's my one complaint, and where he should focus on doing something different, as far as the design. And then oddly enough, how we talked about these on the Indie 3 episodes ago, where it's
something like that. Yep.
Why does he do custom images on it and stuff like that? Well, now he does.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if he listened to us. It was just oh yeah, or because I emailed him with our podcast email address asking.
To be fair, I think my words were, "It's the easiest decision to make more money."
More money.
It's basically no work. I mean, it is work, but it's a very easy thought.
Yeah, so it looked like he only had 20 preset images, but yeah, still. I'm looking forward to getting Voton to put in that case and do actual how does stuff fit in there and whatnot. So and then basically I think I mentioned in the last episode, based off measurements, the IKEA DTOF display case, 2 of the trays should fit on one shelf.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that would work out too for displaying your army and then being able to transport it right away. And then something else funny happened. Upzone. It was the pop-up book terrain.
Oh yes, I'd forgotten about that
for a while ago.
Yeah.
I gave him $1 because it was I don't know if I could back this, if I want to spend the money on it, but I'll give him $1, right?
Yeah.
They sent me dice for $1.
Nice.
And I'm just sitting here thinking this with the postage, because there's postage. That probably cost more than the $1 I gave you, but oh well.
Yeah. Socks. Given that you got told that you're not important and that you didn't have to work this week, I assume that you've gotten all of your hobby done and that you're going to sit here for the next hour and show it off.
All of it done. Yeah, absolutely none, because we weren't expecting to evacuate. We were just putting up our hurricane shredders on Tuesday, finishing them up on Tuesday, and then all of a sudden we get an email saying, no, you're in a mandatory evacuation zone. Get out as soon as you can. So we pretty much packed up the kids and closed for about a week and drove off.
But you're the main man. You're the one everybody comes to see, and you're not even going to deliver. Everybody's going to be very disappointed, Socks.
I know that. Sorry.
You didn't set up a painting table in the back of the land yacht that you got your wife?
No, my wife would not allow me to have a mobile paint shop in the back of that thing. No. Are you kidding me, George?
Does she let the kids in it then?
She does let the kids in it, but there is zero eating in that car right now. I'm lucky enough to have something with caffeine in it so I can stay awake while I'm driving. Otherwise, it's water. So, no. She wouldn't let me have
Bruce has left us.
Nearby. But Bruce, what about you?
I have been building I've been building a couple of things. I did a couple of unboxings recently. One of them was for Bushido, where I unboxed Zhu and What's the other guy's name?
Me?
I don't remember. But
You and me.
yeah. So we have this lovely gentleman.
He looks short.
He is
He does
very
look really
short, but it's okay. He gets bigger.
He did get
So
bigger.
this is a character that basically hulks out. On my video, I pointed this out. My favorite thing is the frog that's behind him.
Hmm.
He also has another frog sitting on his shoulder, which is the one from his hat before. So he's scared the living daylight. I want to know what the background are for the frogs, because I assume that there's a reason that they're there, whether it's from original mythology or whether it's from the lore of the game itself. I kind of want it. I don't know. Like, I assume that there's a reason that the frogs are there. I just don't know what it is. So I kind of like Mr. Enos. I'm still waiting to find out what the story of the frog is. Please. They were really fun to build, actually. The little short guy was only 2 pieces. His main body and then his head and the hat were together. And the big guy was also only 2 pieces. The only thing that was separate was the hat, which makes sense from a sculpting point of view because you couldn't do that hat as well as the big body very well. These were really easy to build and actually are really fun. Like they're just really fun looking characters. I don't know how well they go as far as competitive play is concerned. It's not really why I brought them. I just really wanted them. But yeah,
that almost leads into our next topic of discussion.
Talk nerdy to me.
This is something I've kind of wanted to talk about for a while. And it's not the first time we've had this discussion. There's been a number of times we've been very critical towards Games Workshop in particular with the way that they do their rules. The power creep is something that I know really irritates me and George. Not so much Socks because he just doesn't care. But, well, about Games Workshop, I mean.
Oh, that part? Yes, no.
No.
The
But,
topic, a little bit, yes.
yes.
The main topic that we're going to talk about.
Another channel in the community, Guerrilla Wargaming, Guerrilla Miniature Gaming, sorry. Ash Barker released a video on Friday, basically doing a massive rant in response to Games Workshop with the Leagues of Voltan. And basically his opinion was that Games Workshop needs to stop apologizing and stop trying to fix things. And basically go back to doing what they used to do, which is they just release stuff, and then if there's a problem with it, well, the next thing will be more powerful anyway. It doesn't matter. And I'm kind of surprised because I agreed with him. I agreed with his point of view, despite the fact that basically what he's saying is that Games Workshop shouldn't do what I want. I 100% agreed with everything that he had to say. But it's not so much that I want to talk about. It's the general topic of balancing versus power creep, because it is a problem in more ways than one. And I think what a lot of people, especially the vocal minority, like the people that are very loud about this, I don't think they realize that neither side is actually necessarily a good one.
I'm gonna stop you, and it's not the vocal minority, it's the vocal competitive.
Yes,
because and in his little rant, he talked about how Privateer Press catered to that competitive market and killed the casual player.
Yeah,
for that
quite
game.
literally. You can't get games. You can't get casual games of Warhammer Horde. You haven't been able to for a long time because the main community of that game will run you off. Now that's not Privateer Press's fault. And to be fair, I know Warhammer Horde people that are not like that, and like the people that are hearing me say this and know me know why I'm saying this out loud, and you also know for a fact that I'm not talking about you, because I know that that's not the player that you were. I am speaking to specific people here that might call me out on the fact that I know that they're not like that. But you also know who I'm talking about as well.
Mm-hmm.
Not giving any names.
And I agree with that whole statement of if it's in the casual community and something overpowered has been released, in the past, Games Workshop has just been like, whatever, it's new.
Yeah.
Look at the Tau when they first came out. Like, the only way you could beat Tau was you physically went and grabbed a stick and started smashing your opponent's minis on the table. That's how you beat the Tau.
There was
Games Workshop doesn't care.
There was a point in the game where you could not play with Eldar without being abused, and I do mean abused. You were not allowed to play with Eldar because of how broken they were in any scene, competitive, casual, whatsoever, because everybody hated you, and I do mean hated you, because you owned Eldar, because how dare you? And it didn't, like, you could have the most fluffy list and lose, but that would be okay because you deserve it because you're an Eldar player.
Yeah,
that is still around to some extent, and Eldar are not that powerful today. They were at one point. Like, that is why that is a thing.
Yeah.
But this has been a problem with games, and I am still saying problem. I'm saying problem. It's been a problem with Games Workshop for a while, and it's been one that we've been not quiet about, because it's something that really irritates us about Warhammer 40k. Not so much with Age of Sigmar. It's not as huge of a problem. I mean, it is, but it's not.
Yeah.
The game works differently, so it doesn't affect it as badly.
And then here's something else I'm going to mention and throw out there, and I'm going to side-eye with an accusatory glance. A post I saw earlier, and I agree with what the poster said, and it was on Facebook, it was in a Warhammer 40k community, not the official page, but a Warhammer 40k page, not the official one. Because I have a feeling, the guy would have been like hammer banned for what he said. So the pre-order for Votann happened, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes.
Virtually everywhere where you could get Votann, sold out of Votann, right? You got like 2 squads, 2 heroes, and the bikes. You got tokens, blah, blah, blah. And you got a nice, pretty, full artwork cover codex. Then you start hearing about, like, really quick, Germany specifically, as you mentioned, nope, you can't play Votann. Votann's banned. There's other places where they've said, no, you can't use Votann. This is not right. So, literally, pre-order happened, pre-order shipped.
It was less than 20. It was less than 24 hours.
People literally got the stuff on Friday, Saturday, and
it was gone by Monday. Yeah,
Tuesday, Wednesday at the latest. Games Workshop is saying we're changing this. So literally before tournament games could literally even happen, they've already nerfed, changed the rules, whatever you want to call it. And I would almost here's where I'm going to do the accusatory side-eye. They intentionally released this army with that codex, with those rules appearing broken, the meta chasers going after the most powerful army to win, because that's all they care about is the meta and winning, because they're competitive, they don't have fun, bought it all, and then Games Workshop no longer has inventory, and they said, now we're changing the rules on you.
Yeah. Look, I don't agree. Well, it's not that I don't agree. I do believe it would be possible, but I don't think they've actually...
If you look at the quality... If you look at the production quality of the nerfing video, there's no way they did that in that short amount of time. That was a prepared, ready video, in my opinion. And that's why I'm going to give them not as straight on stare, but the side-eye accusatory. Like, you kind of did that on purpose. You knew what you were doing, and you did that on purpose. I think they did it sooner than they were wanting to because of all the initial outrage from tournament organizers. And like, what? I just bought this and I can't play it? You're banning it? I think that's why that was so soon that they released that. There's a part of me that thinks that this was very intentional. This was to hype up, to get the sales, and then balance that out for the meta.
To be fair, when was the last time they released a codex and didn't FAQ it day one? It happens monthly.
Regularly.
Well, so
But this is the first.
It doesn't happen.
This is the
It doesn't
first time
happen
they've.
on an existing army on a new edition.
Well, yeah. This is the first time where I've seen them respond to a point of. Like, Games Workshop don't admit fault. Games Workshop don't admit fault. This is, again, this is new. The fact that they've done it and then made a joke out of it at the same time is on brand. But Games Workshop don't admit fault, ever. They're never wrong. The community is just not seeing things in the right way. I think it's probably important to remember that. But, again, here's the problem, and I know I said this in our off-camera discussion. If you want to do power creep, you can't do balance at the same time. It doesn't work.
No.
Mm-hmm.
It is one,
Nope, absolutely not.
or it's the other. You cannot release something more powerful every month and then still have it balance out with everything else. I'm going to use the case of Bushido. Not that Bushido is like, there are still things that come out that are like a little bit more powerful than they should, and they still need to fix them, but everything is play tested. It's why they only have like 5 or 6 models come out a month, because everything is play tested, everything is put through the community. By the time it hits shelves, there's none of these questions that are left, because that is what they do. They also have a game that's small enough that they can afford the time for that. Games Workshop don't care about balance, and they never have, and that's the problem.
Yeah.
They've admitted this themselves in the past. This is not an opinion. This is fact. They've said this out loud several times over the last few decades. They don't care about balance. It's not what they're here for. They're here to sell, models. They've even said out loud that they're not a gaming company. They're a miniature company.
Yeah.
They got a lot of hate for that from the audience that is that's very unhappy with this as well. I think the problem is that most Games Workshop customers are not competitive players. It is a large percentage of their customer base, but most people that buy this stuff, most of the people that get accused of being sheep aren't competitive players. The fact that 40k has never been a competitive game, it's forced to become one, speaks volumes, I feel. That's kind of the problem here. But you can't have both. I think Games Workshop have been trying to play both for the last 12 months or so, and I think what we're seeing now is that's backfired on them, because they're no good at it. They are terrible at balance.
No.
They always have been. It's not in their skill set. You had
and I was just looking here real quick. So we're looking, technically you have like what, was it 12 armies just for Space Marines?
Yep.
Right, and then you have the Imperium, which is 6 more armies. Then you have Chaos, which is 5 more armies.
Yeah, and you can't balance all of that. It's too much.
What? 9 more armies for Xenos now. So we're talking what? Over 20 armies, and you want that balanced? You can't do it. And
whenever they talk about their game or a new edition of their game, they're also very careful to always talk about the narrative aspect of the game. They don't talk about competitive until after, every single time. And I think people choose to ignore that conveniently when it's because people make these decisions when it's convenient for an argument.
Well, let me argue this, right? So, Socks, you've been into Adepticon, right? They don't do tournaments, do they?
Adepticon,
I was thinking
they do.
They do tournaments the one you went to, Gen Con.
Gen Con.
Do they do tournaments there?
Yes, they had a Legion one there.
Okay, so Legion, right? So how many people that played Legion in that tournament?
I want to say they had 60, almost 64 the first day, and I had like 48 or so the second day.
So
So let's just say
losers drop
50.
out.
We'll just say 50, right? 50 people. Is that a good representation of the community? I'm going to say no. Do you know why? Because, okay, so that's in Indianapolis, right? Okay, so you figure 50 people times that out by, we'll just do 50, right? 500. No, 5,000, right? 5,000.
Yeah. 25,000. 2,500.
Oh, yeah, 2,500. Yeah, 25. Yeah, I can math, right? 2,500. Is that an accurate representation of all the players of Star Wars Legion?
No,
absolutely not.
No, it's just a representation of the top of the league. That's all it is.
You're talking like what? 5%? Generously 5%?
Yeah.
What about the other 95%?
Yeah.
They don't care about balance. They care about the fun. They care about the story. They care about hanging out with their friends and playing a Star Wars game.
Yeah.
And so when a company, and this is true of anything, if you listen to the top 5% most vocal people and cater to them, it's going to get ruined. A game, a store, a restaurant, government, whatever. If you only listen to one little part, it's going to get ruined. Period.
Boaty McBoatface.
There you go, Bodie McBoatface.
Because that's exactly the same argument. If you look at the Super Bowl, the Super Bowl is the pinnacle of the NFL, but it is not a representation of the entire league. It's only a representation of 2 teams from that league. Is it the pinnacle?
Well,
yes. Do people always want to be there? Yes, of course they do. But it doesn't represent the entire league. It only represents the people that got there. And if I'm not
or can afford to get there.
Yes.
Because you're looking at the average ticket price for the Super Bowl is like what, $4 or $5 grand now? Like for the cheap ones, versus like, a regular old. What does a Buccaneers ticket cost? Like you can get like what?
Actually,
5 for.
They are the second most expensive ticket here in the States.
Okay, but is it double digits, triple digits?
It's double. It's triple. You're looking at about $100, 150.
So prime example here. Let's put it in that term. Okay, we'll just do sports events in general. The people that go to the actual event and pay the hundreds of dollars for the ticket, the hundreds of dollars for the food and parking and everything associated with that. That is the top percent. Everyone else is gathering at someone else's house, whatever. That's the majority of it. That's the demographic you need to worry about, not the top percent that can, whatever.
I have a better example of this. The Toronto Maple Leaf home games. Generally speaking, this is 10 years old. So if this has changed Toronto, I apologize. But if I'm right, let me know that I'm right. Toronto Maple Leaf.
It's Toronto. They accept your apology because it's Canada. So you already apologized. They accept it.
Toronto Maple Leaf home games, you can never get tickets for them. Fans never go. It's always businessmen, because that's where all the business gets done, in the stands of the games. It's quite, at least at the point when I was visiting, because I was like, I'd love to go to a game because I've never seen a game. And you would never get in, because the only people that can afford to buy the tickets are the businessmen. Fans can never get in.
Yep. So and that's where that goes back to the why does Games Workshop care about the top 5%? Care about the 90%. Well, care about the 75%.
Generally speaking, there's 2 ways that you can organise to have a game, and this is the main thing that I wanted to get to. Either you want your game to be balanced. And that's not a bad thing. Like, it's not a bad thing to aim for. Balance is very important for a game. Because otherwise, you only have one army that sells. The other side is that you aim for a more narrative or something along those lines. Power creep generally feeds into the narrative point of view. People that enjoy playing things competitively will always argue for the balance unless they are that person that you never want to play with. And quite frankly, a lot of these vocal people are that person. Because they're just trying to justify their arguments and why their thing should be the most powerful.
Yeah, I will play an army that is, in the power creep, terrible. As long as the person I'm playing with just wants to play to have fun, play the game to play the game. As soon as if I'm playing someone and they're like, oh yeah, this is my new tournament army, I want to test for the meta, I'm trying to go for blah blah blah. I'll pick myself up and walk away and be like, I'm not playing that game.
Yeah, because that's not what you're there for.
That's not the game I want to play. If you want to go buy the newest army, spend $2,000 because that's where the power creep is, and it's going to allow you to turn 3, table your opponent, and you do well in the tournament. That's the person I don't want to play with.
That's the reason why I don't play Magic the Gathering in a competitive, for exactly the same reason. It takes the fun away. Socks. We've mentioned Legion a couple of times, and I know that you did want to talk about this, but where on the balance, when it comes to balance versus narrative, where is it? Because I have a feeling that's more towards the narrative side, not towards the balance, or am I wrong there?
So it sways. So for a while, Galactic Republic was very, very hard to beat. You could almost win every single game if you played Galactic Republic, the clones, just because some of their stuff was very, very strong. But then it got swayed when the new Shadow Collective stuff came out, the Scum and Villainy factions.
Yep.
And so a lot of the Republic players are like, we can't take any of this stuff, and we need point balance adjustments because all our stuff is expensive, but yet they had some of the best units out there in the game for a while.
It was only okay when they were the ones that were winning.
Yeah. You were rolling the best offensive weapon dice for attacks, and you were rolling the best defensive weapons or defensive dice in the game. And so as a rebel player or as a droid player who rolls as a droid player, you roll the worst attack dice for your majority of your stuff, and you're rolling the worst defense dice for the majority of your stuff, which is the B1 droids. Unless you get some of the more powerful stuff, you're not going to win as a droid player because you need some of that stuff. And so it sways back and forth. Yep. The narrative stuff helps coming out with the Wookiees, and I'm looking forward to some of the stuff. However, there's the Mandalorian. His Din Djarin is coming out, and a lot of people just by seeing his cards, he's available for Rebel and Empire only. He has an ability that can pretty much, you move him and you can shoot anywhere across the board. Anywhere. Range is not a factor to him. And so they're going to be they're saying that even though he hasn't been played by the community, he's going to be a very, very powerful unit.
Yeah. Because
he can shoot anywhere on the board. Range is not a factor to him.
Yep.
He's using the entire turn of his to be able to do that one ability, but so we'll see how it goes.
I think it's probably also worth mentioning because I have a feeling with some of our previous comments, people might be thinking that we have a problem with the tournament scene. We don't. And we're not saying that the tournament scene is not important. From a business point of view, that's not where they make their money, is what our argument was. I just kind of had that thought when you were talking about that. Because Atomic Mass Games don't make their money from tournaments either. They support it, obviously they do, because it's an important part of the community, but it's not the community. It's just a part of it. That's what, just in case that was confused earlier with the earlier rants. I think Privateer Press, I think that the Privateer Press part of this argument, I think, might be overplayed a little bit. Because the fact that they concentrated on competitive competitiveness is not the only reason why that game fell over. They also lost a huge part of their staffing to Atomic Mass Games. That was a company that was created by former Privateer Press people. And all of those people that were involved were the heart of that game. That is a bigger reason as to why that fell over. But I can completely understand where he's coming from by mentioning that. Because it's not the only one. I mentioned earlier Guild Ball before we were recording. Guild Ball was a game that was supposed to be fluffy and creative, but the community wanted it to be competitive. And in the end, the company behind it, Steamforged Games, went, you know what? We're done. We don't want to do this game anymore. We don't enjoy this game anymore. It's become something that we don't enjoy. We're done. We're not making it anymore. And they killed their cash cow and created something new. For that exact reason, because not everybody enjoys balance. I do. I love balance, and I'm sitting here making an argument against my own point.
So I'll rewind you a couple of seconds there, where you said a lot of the Privateer Plus went to do AMG, you know, and it's right when the middle of all this is happening, and I would argue that possibly those people left PP to go do AMG because they didn't like how they were being forced in this direction of tournament. And they're like, no, we're going to go do this.
Well, Privateer Press was always about the competitive nature, but at the same time, the power creep in that game was no less problematic than it was in 40k anyway.
Yeah.
The community, in my opinion, for Warmer Hordes, and this is my opinion, very much like to pick their battle with that and ignore the bit that doesn't work. Because it was competitive, it was always seen as balanced, but that wasn't actually necessarily the case. People were going out and having to buy hundreds of dollars worth of models for that game all the time as well, because every time something new came out that was the new hotness, they had to change their lists and everything like that. That's not just a 40k thing. People like to complain that it's just a 40k. It's not. 40k is a standard bearer because it is 80. Well, that company is like 85-90% of the industry. Privateer Press at one point almost killed them. And I'm not exaggerating here. They almost killed Games Workshop at one point because Games Workshop made some very stupid mistakes. But I was kind of like, the conversation was supposed to be moving along a little bit. So we've got two arguments here. We've got an argument for balance and an argument for narrative. From a business point of view, obviously power creep makes a lot of sense, because if people always have to buy the new thing, then you're always going to make more money, in theory. There's problems with that, though, because a company needs to be big enough to be able to keep up with that sort of release schedule. Games Workshop, even themselves, have had issues trying to keep up with that, especially when COVID hit. A company like GCT could never do that because they're not big enough. TT Combat could never do that because they're not big enough. So, does that mean that you have to balance? Here's the problem with a balanced game. A balanced game is the most fragile rule set you will ever find. All it takes is one mistake. One thing that's off balance, and it completely throws everything off. Now, obviously, the solution to that is test, which is what companies like GCT and TT Combat do. But Games Workshop are not capable of that because everything has to be too quick.
So I'm going to talk about a favorite game of ours, Drop Fleet Commander.
Yep.
When that first came out, that was probably, and still is, one of the most balanced games that you can get your hands on. Just because, and when Dave was doing this, and we're talking about, I mean, it is a big enough game that, it is international, but it is very small. And the fact that, how long has it been around now? 8 years?
2017.
So 5,
Well,
yeah.
I was thinking like, the drop universe in general, like including
Drop
drop
universe.
zone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's 10
if
years.
you're talking about drop, about 9, 10, yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's 10 years.
And how many armies are there? 5.
Yeah. This was my point.
So unless some different alien faction rears its ugly head from somewhere in the galaxy or whatever, you're not going to have more than 5 factions for a game like that, the way Dave designed it.
Mm-hmm.
You've got your post-humans who are like, this is bad, we're going to run away with this white sphere. To the humans of like, no, we're going to stay here. To the humans of like, we ran away, but we learned stuff and we're coming back. To the aliens who took everything over, and super advanced aliens are like, we hate you all.
Fight our battles for us.
Yeah. So you start getting past that. Like, and Privateer Press for a while, they had that too. They had 4, 5 factions to start with. Then they brought in Hordes, which is another 4 factions, so they essentially doubled it.
Yeah.
What are they at now? Like 12 total?
No, they're upwards of 20 or more. Like their own community are asking them to kill factions off as part of 4th edition.
And to go back to that, we even talked about, specifically Games Workshop, right? 40K versus, Sigmar. There's all this problem in 40K. There's 30 armies. Sigmar does not have that problem because there's not 30 armies. Sigmar has half the armies.
I think the problem is, if all you're concentrating on from a business point of view is the tournament scene, what then happens what happens when you have people that don't enjoy tournaments? I don't enjoy tournaments. I have taken part of them, and I have enjoyed specific tournaments, but generally speaking, it's not something I try to avoid competitive games. I try to avoid competitive scenes because it's just not something I enjoy. I enjoy a more narrative, fun game. I will like a competitive game, but I won't look for specifically something that's only... Like, if I wanted to play something that was competitive, I would play Magic the Gathering all the time. God knows I could find games easy enough. Because that is the heart and soul of what that's designed for. But I really don't enjoy Magic the Gathering. Because most of the casual aspect of that game is ignored by the community. 40K, like the actual community out there, most of it doesn't do narrative that you find. Like I'm not talking customer base, because there's a huge percentage of the customer base that gets ignored by the community, and this is the narrative players and the I'm just doing it for hobby players, or the kids that are playing with their brothers and sisters. Like, the kids in 40K is much bigger than most of the community realizes that it is. They can complain and moan about it all day long, but it is much bigger than people think that it is. There is a lot of kids that buy Games Workshop products. It's why Games Workshop had to start censoring down things that you also complain about. It is a fact of that life. Like, kids are part of that game and have been from the start.
God, yeah. I still remember the conversation a few years ago. Like, they've done new Bloodthirsters, they've done new Unclean Ones, they've done new, what is the Zinch one?
The Bird of Prey.
Yeah, the change or whatever. It's it's like, so Games Workshop is trying to be a little more like family and kid friendly. How are they going to do Slaanesh?
They're not. They removed them.
No, they're back.
No, I know, but they deliberately removed them at the time because they couldn't. Because they didn't know how to fix it. And what did they do? They took Slaanesh in a different direction that still fits with Slaanesh. I mean, there's still sexualized parts of it, but it's not the creepy over-sexualized that it used to be. Like, it's not the in-your-face, oh my goodness, this thing has breasts and are nude. Like, it's not that anymore. Everything is. I mean, it's suggested more than it's out there now. But my point was more. I'm not saying that the tournament scene is not important to the games. Obviously, they are. But if that's all that you concentrate on, it's actually a small part of the business. There are far more Star Wars Legion players out there than show up to tournament events.
Yes, there are.
There's at least 2 more in your house.
Yes. And I'm getting to the point with my local tournaments here that it's the same 3 or 4 players that win every single time.
That's not unusual.
So why go? And they've got invites to Worlds. That's how good these players are. And so I'm just like, I'm not going to ever win. I'm never ever going to get above top 5. Ever.
That was my scene as well. That was my 40k scene.
So and then oh god, my train of thought.
When was the last time you did a tournament for something, George?
It was a blind doubles. Bring 1,000 points.
Yep, I did one of those back in the day.
So and like that sounds fun to me. It's just like, you know, your names are put into a hat, names are drawn out, and that's your teammate. And so I was just like, cool. That sounds like fun. So
I had a
went
tournament
through
like
and
that.
I
had a tournament like that. It's the best fun I ever had.
I got my Wolf in. I got my Thunderwolf Cavalry. I got my Frisian Wolves. I got my Outrider detachment ready to go. I got it dialed in points wise. Got it painted. And I was just like, all right, I cannot shoot a damn thing. My teammate better be able to shoot because my goal is to get across the table in half a turn and start opening things up. I got teamed up with the only other melee player too. So we had a royally fun time of not winning.
Yeah.
Because between 2,000 points, I think there was 5 guns total in the armies. Mine and his army.
I had a similar experience, but with 750 points. My Blood Angels, and I got teamed up with a Necron player, so we were Team Fist Bump because of the meme. And we actually came first. We came third. Sorry, it's the only time I've ever actually placed in a tournament. But that's not the most fun part of it. Like, I genuinely didn't think we were going to place. It's genuinely the most fun I've ever had in a game because I couldn't look at it from a competitive point of view. And because nobody else could either, it meant that the games were more fun and they were closer because you couldn't prepare for it.
Right. I mean, so prime example, right? At least 2 games, I made stupid, questionable charge attempts with my Wolfen. Why? Mm-hmm. Well, it's either move strategically like you normally would if you had proper support and survive, which, I didn't have that, so I was going to get shot up anyways, or just go for it, try to get there, and wreck as much havoc as I can. I did all but 2 wounds to a knight in 1 turn doing that.
Yeah.
I also lost half my Wolfen, but...
Yeah, so I think the point that we're trying to make here is there's a lot of different ways to approach a game. And although us as a community will obviously try to argue for the balance all the time, it is worth remembering that there's more to a business than just that. And hey, you know what? Balance isn't always fun either. Like, narrative gameplay is where a lot of the fun comes from the one soldier that happens to survive those 5 shots to the head and then still manages to take out the monster that's half his size. How did he do that? Probably because his rules wasn't balanced enough and he probably should have been killed ages ago. But that doesn't matter at that point. That's when it's fun.
Here's a prime example. Here's the best example of fun. It's Age of Sigmar. Gotrek. Gotrek is fun to play because he is so damn ludicrous.
Yeah.
He's also 600 points.
Yeah.
But he's ludicrous and he's fun.
Yeah.
So
He's been balanced right where it makes sense.
right, yeah. I mean, it's like he's an obscene amount of points. Yeah, he can take out Chaos Gods by himself. He can wipe a board. Oh, he only moves 4 inches a turn. You can't transport him in any way, so he's got to run his little ass across the board. But he's fun when you finally get him engaged.
There are entire communities of people that came together to fix games to make them tournament legal. Like 40K in particular, there was a huge group of people across Australia at one point that, quite frankly, gave up because the community ruined the fun for them. I know most of these people. They gave up because the community ruined it.
Yeah.
ITC is, yes, the best example of it. And then sometimes you just get a game where it doesn't need it. Infinity doesn't need it because it was designed from the ground up and lucked into still being fun. A lot of balanced games aren't fun. Infinity has a community that loves everything they do, and it's because the game works. But not every game is like that.
Well, in Infinity, like the way that game is played, there's only really a specific way to play that game.
Yes.
There's many different ways to play, Star Wars. There's many different ways for Sigmar, 40K, Warmahor,
even Malifaux.
Yeah. So I mean, that opens it up. So Infinity, I think, is one of those rare things where it's like, they stay balanced and on an even keel because of how they designed the game, the way the game's played, and the community that likes that game.
Yeah.
Going back to bringing up ITC, Games Workshop. Let ITC worry about tournament and balancing and stuff.
That's what they were there for to begin with.
Yeah, that's don't what's his name again in the video that we watched?
James Workshop. Oh, Ash Barker.
Yeah, Ash. Ash is right. Stop apologizing. Make the game fun. Let ITC worry about making it balanced. Let ITC worry about balancing the game out. I'm sure if you gave them time, the reason why Germany was just like 9, it just came out. They didn't have a chance to look at it.
Yeah, and they would have had a tournament coming up where it was going to be a problem.
2 months from now, they would have probably figured out a way to balance it out. Like, you can only take so many of this, and so...
The same thing happened with Knights at one point. Knights were banned initially until they found a way to make them work. Yeah, they were banned in a couple of Australian scenes I know of. I don't know about Germany, but they were banned in a couple of scenes down here for at least 6 months until they could figure out how to use them and make them fair. But I think this is the point where we hand over. Like, obviously, you're going to have an opinion one way or the other as to how you feel that this should go. Maybe you disagree with us entirely. Maybe you think we have a couple of points, but we're not quite on the money, or maybe there's something that we've missed. The last thing I probably want to say from a personal point of view is, yes, Games Workshop need to concentrate on what Games Workshop does. And if that means that they don't deliver the game that we want, then hey, you know what? We got to play something else. And quite frankly, most of us in this podcast are playing something else anyway. So why would they be worrying about 3 random people from across the world? And
that's the beautiful thing about Games Workshop. If you don't like this, they literally have 30 other options for you to pick from.
And here's a wild and crazy idea. You know that 10% of the industry that have a lot of different games in it? Go and buy one of them. Quite frankly, there are companies out there making games twice what 40K is. 40K is nowhere near as fun as you think it is. I challenge you to try the rest of the industry. That 10% should be much larger. If you're unhappy about this, speak with your wallet. I'm dead serious. I'm not saying that you can't play 40K and you can't enjoy it, but if you're unhappy about this direction, speak with your wallet and stop just doing what you're told. There's games out there that put Games Workshop to shame.
So I
get into the comments. Give us your thought.
On.
Yep.
Yeah. Here's another thing to end on too. the game is who you play with too.
Very much so.
If you're not liking the game and who you're playing with,
it might
find
be
a
the
different
people
game to play.
Or it could be the people that you're playing with. If you don't like it when it gets competitive, don't play with competitive people.
Yeah.
If you're not a competitive person, you can sit there and try to think that you're going to learn to be that player or you like, but maybe you just don't like that. That was my mistake. I tried to be stubborn and learn from these people for a long time, but the fact is I just didn't enjoy it because that's not the sort of gamer that I am. Doesn't mean that I'm not a gamer. It just means I don't like that style of game. That's why I don't play COD on the computer. I don't enjoy that. I would rather have fun, or at least what I perceive as fun. But yeah, get into the comments. Let us know your thoughts. Obviously, some of you are going to have some very vocal thoughts on this. This is a hot topic. But try to be nice to each other in the comments.
Or I won't be.
Tournaments, demos, conventions, that kind of stuff.
Speaking of tournaments. All right. First things first. Michelle wants to apologize because he forgot to mention that this was coming up. Spiel is coming up next weekend. This is happening on the same weekend that PAX Australia is happening. So it's October 6th till 9th at Messe Essen. It's in Germany. So if you're in Germany or you're nearby Germany, like Spiel is the scene. It's the big one.
It's their Gen Con, pretty much.
It's probably the only convention that rivals Gen Con, realistically. That and UK Games Expo, that would be your big three internationally.
Yeah, an Adepticon.
Well, yeah, but I was
Adepticon.
I was trying to think of countries. And Gen Con is bigger than Adepticon, so I went for Gen Con. Anyway, there is still the Slow Grow League happening in the Drop Fleet Commander, even though I deleted it from the thing. It's still happening. The terrain building competition is still happening on the Drop Zone Commander community Facebook page. If you enjoy Drop Zone, join that community. It is the community to be part of for that game. PAX Australia is happening next weekend. We're going to have a quick look at that website very, very shortly. It's October 7th till 9th. 3-day passes are all gone. Saturday passes are all gone. I did warn you. Friday passes are, at last I checked, 70% sold out. This is your last chance. You have to buy now or you will not get in. You might be lucky to find some at the door. I would not hold your breath. This is your last chance, Australia. It is worth going. PAX Unplugged is coming up from December 2nd till 4th. Very, very quickly. Yeah, so 70% sold out. Sunday is the one that you're easily able to get into at this stage. The panels are now live. The exhibitors are now live as well. So if you want to have a look to see what's there, I will be there. I will be there with a camera. I'll be there with my phone recording things. I will be approaching certain booths. We've already picked out a couple of things that we want me to have a look at. There is a booth for Star Wars Legion that we are very curious to see what it is. We don't know if it's a fan thing. We don't know if it's a demo table. The demo tables are usually hosted on a separate list. So that, at very minimum, will be things that I will be checking out. If you have something that you would like me to look at that you know is going to be there, reach out to us. gettingtabled@gmail.com. Do it before Friday so that I actually have time to get there. If you are hosting something at the event, let me know. If there's demo tables, I do intend to get around to the demo tables and try to get conversations with people. At the same time, I am just going to be having a look at things as well. Not everything is going to be for the podcast. But if you see me out, say hello. You're more than welcome. Just maybe don't walk in front of my camera while I'm filming things. George, what do you got coming up? Anything exciting?
No.
Socks, when does your world domination begin?
Never.
Never? You're a terrible dictator. I'm very disappointed in you.
I know that. I know that.
You can find us on Patreon on www.patreon.com/gettingtable. Please help support us. It pays the bills. It helps us keep this going. You can find majority of our stuff being posted to facebook.com/gettingtabled. It's where we post everything. That's where you find out about videos, podcasts, and other things that we find on the interwebs. You can, of course, watch this podcast on YouTube at youtube.com/gettingtabled. Please like and subscribe to the channel. You'll be alerted when we post new videos. Email us at gettingtabled@gmail.com. Twitter and Instagram are at gettingtabled. And then Bruce has a Twitch channel, twitch.tv/JasonTheBruce. And then, of course, our website, gettingtabled.weebly.com.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For listening to Getting Tabled. Music used in this podcast was created by Eric Matyas at soundimage.org.